If you ever tried to cut calories and found yourself thinking about food every 10 minutes, let me just say this right now. You're not weak. You're following a strategy that does not work long term. Here's the reality. More than half of people regain the weight they lose within 2 years, and over 80% regain it within 5, according to long-term dieting outcome research reviewed by psychologists like Dr. Tracy Mann, who followed people for years, not just a 12-week program. And that happens because most weight loss advice is basically desperation dressed up as discipline. Eat less, do more cardio, ignore hunger, and hope your life never includes stress, hormones, social events, or a Tuesday. This video is about how to lose fat like a functioning adult, a real calorie deficit, without being hungry all the time. Let's just clear this up real quick because people are wildly confused here. A calorie deficit means your body is using more energy than it is taking in. Pretty simple. That's energy balance. But most people have been trained to think that energy balance has only 2 levers. Eat less, move more. That is the kindergarten version of metabolism. Your body burns energy through multiple systems, and you can influence those systems in ways that make fat loss easier instead of miserable. Here's what actually matters. Basal metabolic rate, or BMR. This is the energy your body uses just to stay alive. Research in exercise physiology shows that this makes up the largest portion of daily calorie burn, and it is strongly influenced by body size and lean mass. Muscle mass. Muscle mass is metabolically active tissue. According to research from the NIH, people with more muscle require more energy at rest. More muscle means you can often eat more food at the same body weight and still be in a deficit. Thermic effect of food, or TEF. Your body burns calories digesting food. Protein has the highest thermic effect of food. Roughly 20 to 30% of calories are used just to digest it, compared to carbs and fats. That means protein literally costs more energy to process. NEAT, or non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is walking, standing, pacing, cleaning, fidgeting, being a human. Research by Dr. James Levine at the Mayo Clinic shows NEAT can vary by hundreds of calories per day and often drops subconsciously when people diet aggressively, which quietly shrinks their deficit. And obviously, exercise. Workouts matter, but they are not magic. And for many people, excessive cardio increases hunger enough to cancel out the calories burned. Congratulations, you played yourself. And finally, stress, sleep, and recovery. Chronic stress raises cortisol. Elevated cortisol is associated with increased appetite, worse sleep, and harder fat loss. If you are underfueling, overtraining, and undersleeping, your body does not respond to trying harder. It responds by getting louder about food. So yes, fat loss requires a deficit, 1000%. But a deficit is not created only by eating less. You can create a deficit by building muscle at the same calories, increasing protein at the same calories, improving sleep and recovery, and increasing daily movement without punishing workouts. That is the difference between fat loss that sticks and fat loss that rebounds. So here's the problem. Why dieting hungry fails? Most people fail for 2 reasons. First, their deficit is built out of foods that do not keep them full, so their hunger runs their entire day. Second, they massively underestimate how easy it is to erase a deficit with drinks, oils, snacks, and processed food. And this is where processed foods become a problem, not morally, but biologically. Let's just start with calories because that part alone explains a lot. In a tightly controlled inpatient study run by the NIH, researchers led by Dr. Kevin Hall fed people either an ultra-processed diet or a whole food diet. On the ultra-processed diet, people easily ate about 500 more calories per day, ate faster, and gained weight without trying to. Not because they were weak, but because the food made it easy. Now let's talk about how this feels in the body. When you eat highly processed foods, you tend to eat them faster and chew less, which means you can consume a lot of calories before your brain registers fullness. Satiety just does not have a chance to catch up. Over time, that pattern can make it harder to feel satisfied at normal portions, even when you technically ate enough calories. These foods are engineered to stimulate dopamine, the reward and motivation neurotransmitter. That is why cravings feel loud and urgent, even when you are not physically hungry. Because many processed foods are low in fiber and high in sugar. Blood sugar can spike and crash more dramatically. That crash often feels like sudden hunger, irritability, fatigue, and brain fog. Not, I need calories, but I need something now. Sleep matters here too. When sleep is short or poor, appetite hormones shift the next day. cravings increase, and staying in a deficit becomes dramatically harder. That is not willpower, that is physiology. And when stress stays high and recovery stays low, cortisol stays elevated. Elevated cortisol is associated with increased appetite and stronger preference for highly palatable foods. So this is not calories or hormones, this is calories and hormones. Because hormones shape appetite, craving, sleep, and energy, which directly affect calorie intake. If this sounds familiar, good. That means we're talking about the real problem. So you've probably heard this number before. If you've ever tried to lose weight, 3,500 calories equals 1 pound of body weight. That estimate comes from a work popularized in the 1950s by scientist Mac Wishnowsky. It became the foundation of most dieting math. So here is the basic framework. 3,500 calories per week would be a pound of body weight. Divide that by 7 days equals roughly 500 calories per day, which often leads to roughly 1 pound a week of weight loss, especially early on. Now, here is the part most people do not hear. Weight loss is not linear. Metabolic modeling research by Dr. Kevin Hall shows that as you lose weight, your body's energy needs decrease. That is why the same deficit does not keep producing the same results forever. This is why extreme dieting stalls and why people rebound. The goal is not the biggest deficit. The goal is the most repeatable deficit. So here's how to stay full in a deficit. 1, eat for volume and energy density. Your stomach has stretch receptors, so volume matters. Satiety researcher Dr. Barbara Rolls shows that lowering dietary energy density allows people to eat larger portions, feel more satisfied, and naturally consume fewer calories. Small, calorie-dense meals are like tight little bricks. They barely stretch your stomach, send weak fullness signals, and hunger comes back fast. Large, low energy density meals stretch the stomach, slow digestion, and send a clear, we're good signal to the brain. That is why big salads with protein, soups, vegetables, fruits, and potatoes work so well for fat loss. You get a lot of density, but not a lot of calories. 2, learn the calorie-dense foods that erase deficits. Foods like oils, nut butters, nuts, cheese, granola, trail mix, chips, crackers are not bad food. They are just very efficient at delivering calories. You can eat a small amount, add hundreds of calories, and still not feel full. That is how people mysteriously stop losing weight. So you measure them. You add them intentionally. You stop letting them quietly sabotage you. You stop one handful after another, and you intentionally measure them. 3, build a plate that actually shuts hunger up. And by that I mean a plate that looks like this. Half vegetables or fruit, 1/4 lean protein, 1/4 carbs, fats added intentionally. By that I mean measured. Why this works. Meals with adequate protein and fiber consistently improve satiety and reduce how soon you are hungry again. Snacks keep hunger alive. Meals shut it down. Give your body a chance to register that it's full. 4, protein. For fullness, muscle, and metabolism. Protein is one of the most powerful tools for staying full. Research by Dr. David Weigel showed that higher protein diets reduce hunger and lead to spontaneous reductions in calorie intake. Protein also protects muscle during weight loss. Without enough protein, your body pulls energy from muscle tissue first, not fat. That lowers your metabolic engine and makes future fat loss harder. Protein also has the highest thermic effect of food, meaning your body burns more calories digesting it. So protein is not optional in a deficit, it's foundational. 5, fiber and hydration. Fiber slows digestion, stabilizes blood sugar, and increases fullness, especially when it comes from whole foods. Hydration matters because thirst and fatigue often masquerade as hunger. If you are dehydrated, cravings feel louder and self-control feels lower. This is how you feel normal while dieting. And 6, whole foods over processed foods, baby. Whole foods give you more volume, more fiber, more chewing, stronger satiety signals. The NIH ultra processed food study showed that processed foods makes overeating easier when people are not trying to eat more. Your food environment shapes your appetite environment, which is what will keep you in a deficit. And 7, build muscle if fat loss is your goal. Cardio alone approaches often back people into a corner. At first, you burn more calories. Then hunger increases because you burn more calories. NEAT drops, stress rises, and weight loss stalls. Strength training builds and preserves muscle, improves insulin sensitivity, supports metabolic health, and makes a deficit sustainable. So if fat loss is your goal and you are not strength training, start. And finally, beverages and smoothies. Liquid calories are sneaky because they do not reliably trigger fullness. A single Starbucks drink can be 350 to 400 calories, nearly an entire daily deficit. And smoothies can do more damage than good when they turn into drinkable meals with fruit, nut butter, juice, and sweeteners. You bypass chewing, consume calories quickly, spike blood sugar, and feel hungry again soon after. And juices are worse. Fiber is removed, sugar is concentrated, and satiety is low. So eat fruit. Chew food. Liquids are not neutral. And real quick, a note on food log. Food logging works because it removes guessing. A large Kaiser Permanente study found that people who consistently tracked their intake lost about twice as much weight as those that did not. Not because tracking is magical, but because awareness changes behavior. Tracking shows you where calories are actually coming from, where protein is low, where weekends erase progress, where drinks quietly sabotage you. You do not need to track forever. You track to learn. A calorie deficit is energy balance, but energy balance is shaped by muscle, protein, food choices, stress, sleep, movement, and recovery. You stay full in a deficit when you eat high volume foods. You anchor meals with protein. You manage calorie dense foods intentionally. You prioritize whole foods. You strength train. You stop drinking your calories. And you track long enough to learn the truth. So comment below, what makes fat loss hardest for you? Hunger, cravings, drinks, or not knowing where your calories are coming from? And next time you feel randomly hungry, ask yourself, did my last meal actually have enough protein and volume to keep me full? Or did I just eat calorie-dense foods that didn't satisfy me? Then watch my next video on why protein is the secret to fat loss and how to stay full in a deficit. Because once you are dialed in, fat loss stops feeling like fighting. I'll see you in the next one.